welcome. I absolutely love this game. It is one of the first games I ever platinumed, and I see a hidden chest right up there. I'm afraid to go, though. I don't want the hiss to spawn in this area, which are the enemies of the game. Um, this is one of my favorite games. It's called Control, I'm sure you know. It's got lots of occult stuff in it, lots of symbology, and it's just a generally beautiful game. So I thought I would share a little bit about why I love it so much um, by just making a nice relaxing video where I read some case files in one of my favorite parts of the game, which is central research. Uh, I guess this is a collab with the chance of the hiss, but you know, what can you do? I'm going to get to reading items here in a little bit, but I remember when I first played this game, this is one of the most striking areas for me, and it's so beautiful. I love it so much. There's lots of hidden stuff, by the way, so if you're ever in here, uh, lots of little places to float around to. But I figured I'd get on the comfy P7 outfit, and I would just read some files. And this is, of course, going to have some spoilers in it. I mean, this is, I would say, like a mid-game area, maybe. So if you're really, really like, oh god, I've got to play that game now, um, I would avoid this. But also, it would be really funny if you came to that conclusion after seeing the beginning of an indie ASMR video. So, more power to you. But so for those of you who don't know, I'll do like a brief synopsis. Control is about like a lot of people compare it to the SCP universe, which is true. I'll be reading some items that have supernatural properties that the Bureau contains. And it's basically like the mix of, like, oh no, see what I mean? This is to be avoided if possible. I'll tell you what, I showed you the nice stuff. I'll go to the executive sector. But this is like, if supernatural stuff was real and the government had to control it, it's very like grounded in reality. It's a lot of like bureaucratic red tape with super cool supernatural stuff. Like one of the files in game is someone who finally got a promotion up to the executive sector, which is where we're going now. And they write a complaint because the bathroom has disappeared because the building moves. So they're like, hey, I know you can't control uh, the building shifts, but could you find the bathroom? Could you do that? Could you please find the executive bathroom? And it's so funny and petty. I'm also in the post game, by the way. I don't think that'll be much of an issue, though. You know what? I'll just get straight to reading. They have all your collectibles in these nice. That's gonna bother me. In these nice little, easy to find things here. It takes a little bit of getting used to. But I will be reading from case files, which contains a lot of altered items, altered world events, and basically an altered item is something that has taken on supernatural properties, usually because of an altered world event, which is when something supernatural happens. It's hard to describe. I'm sure you get it. But I will be reading from the top and just reading what I have for you. It's currently almost midnight, so I'm just gonna keep it nice and chill and maybe a little brief, but we'll see. So, object of power, ashtray and cigarette. There's also a little recording button that's like blocking a very small part of the paper at the very top. Containment procedure, no unique procedures required. Description, para-utility. Para-utility is like its uses. So they say paranatural instead of supernatural. So it'd be like if they said, basically just like, what are their psychic powers and what can they do for us? Because you can bind yourself to them. It's a whole thing. I may make a big lore video just because I love this so much. I could talk about it for hours. Description, para-utility. The object is a steel ashtray with a maze engraved on its bottom. An ever-burning cigarette rests in it. When bound, the object allows para-utilitarians to create a maze of shifting corridors without adjusting the dimensions of the space around it. This maze forms wherever the object is placed. Only the binder can navigate the maze, though they may allow others through. The object is currently bound to Director Trench. Background. The object was discovered at Redacted by a team of rangers sent to a care facility for the elderly that had become the center of numerous missing persons reports. Local authorities also disappeared inside after responding to reports. Agent Redacted discovered the object in a Redacted, which indicates it was the source of the disappearances. The whereabouts of the missing persons are still unknown, though they are presumed to be lost in the maze. So in-game, the ashtray maze is used to lock off something very, very crucial. It's basically the best lock that the Bureau has, and the Federal Bureau of Control, or the FBC, is a very important. It's not well known. It's a very hidden group, but they're used to contain everything. There's a map in here called Panopticon, which is a panopticon, which is containing some of the altered items that we'll read about. But the ashtray maze is a maze that forms around this little ashtray. And the only way to get through is if you are bound to it, meaning if it like belongs to you. So there's no other way. I would show it to you in person, but it would take a little bit of doing. So, because you can actually navigate it, it's very cool. Okay, the next one. Benikoff TV OOP7-KE, which means Object of Power 7-KE. Containment procedure. No unique containment procedures required while bound, and to be bound is to be connected to a certain person. Okay, so description, para-utility. A CRT television built by Benikoff and Sons Electrics. The screen is still functional. The object can levitate itself off the ground to a maximum observed altitude of Redacted. When bound, the object allows para-utilitarians to harness this effect for their own use. See Report Redacted. For the results tested with Prime Candidate Redacted. The object is currently bound by Redacted. Background. This object was first discovered in a local news story from Redacted, Kansas. I have a friend who lives in Kansas. A figure had been seen, Redacted, over buildings. The Bureau dispatched agents to the town, who discovered that a man named Redacted had bound himself to the object. Mr. Redacted was detained. See case 39-HQ-656, and the object was brought to the Bureau for study. This is the object that allows you to levitate, which is very fun. This is also a very cool game because it gives you enough information to make plenty of theories, but never enough information to be like a concrete thing. This is the Floppy Disk, OOP. Containment procedure. Must be contained in a cell with no other loose material. Description, para-utility. The object is an 8-inch diskette containing Soviet-era nuclear launch codes. When bound, the object allows para-utilitarians to telekinetically lift material and throw it a short distance. See Dr. Darling presentation 11.15 for more information. The object is currently bound to Redacted for research purposes. Background. Stolen from a Soviet military base located in Redacted by agents Redacted and Redacted with the CIA. The diskette contained launch codes to Redacted missiles, believed to be reserved for use against Redacted. After being returned to America, the diskette began throwing computational hardware at members of the decoding team. An informant in the CIA tipped the Bureau off, and it was requisitioned by agents the next day. Requisitioned the next day. So, the way that some of these things work is that they're believed to be influenced by the collective unconscious. So, like for instance, this disk gives me, the player, the ability to launch things. And they theorize in some of their reports that the reason it's giving you the power to launch things is because it held nuclear launch codes. And yeah, it's all very, very interesting to me, honestly. I don't want to blather too long. Home safe, OOP 22-KE. Containment procedure. No unique procedures required, and that just means that the object is safe and won't, lash out. Description, per utility. The object is a guardhouse brand home safe. Weight measurements vary. When bound, the object allows para-utilitarians to telekinetically gather items and debris from their surroundings. The object is currently bound by blank. Background. Discovered in the basement of a home in Redacted, Ohio. The object gained rapid interest in certain online forums dedicated to opening abandoned safes. After months of failure, the owner attempted to open it with explosives. The object survived with no physical damage. Bureau agents were dispatched, now confident of its paranatural nature. Blood occasionally emerges from the seam around the object's door. Tests confirm the blood is not human. X-rays taken of the object indicate that something is trapped inside, but the images are always blurred, which indicates the contents of the object are moving. All attempts to open the object have been unsuccessful. And I love little lore bits like that. Like, if you don't read the files, you just will not hear half the story, which is, I guess, similar to Dark Souls. Although, to be honest, this game gives you a lot more story. You don't have to read everything, but I want to hear all about it. This is the Hotline OOP3-UE. Containment procedure. Object should be inaccessible for use, except for the director. Description, para-utility. Object is a 1960s-era red Bakelite telephone. The rotary dial has been replaced with a black knob of unknown purpose. The phone weighs redacted. This object allows the director to communicate with the redacted. If used by anyone other than the director, the object will cause lethal redacted. See Dr. Darling presentation 11.6 for more information. The object is currently bound to Director Trench. Background. The object spontaneously manifested in the director's office, placed on the desk. Director Northmower was the first known Bureau agent to use it. A battery of tests were run on the object, including redacted and redacted, but its origins remain unknown. So this is the phone that is used by the director to get in contact with the entity or entities known as the board. If you look to the right, you'll see a black pyramid hanging from the ceiling, which is a replica of the black pyramid in the astral plane, which is... it's so cool. I'll have to show you sometime or make a better dedicated video. And it's their direct hotline to you. And I don't remember where I read this. It might be in a supplemental file, because some of these do have supplemental files. That someone who tried to use this phone, like pick it up while it was ringing, bleeding from the ears and eyes and all that. It's a very eldritch horror situation, and I'm a big fan. Merry-go-round horse, OOP 16-KE. Containment procedure. Object should be kept in a confined space when unbound. Description, para-utility. A fiberglass horse once used as a seat for a merry-go-round ride. The pole is still connected to the object. The object is capable of moving short distances at high speeds. This can be quite dangerous when redacted its path. The object is currently bound by redacted. Background. The object was discovered at the site of an abandoned amusement park. Local redacted reported that the rides would move on their own and that they would be chased out. When these rumors reached the Bureau, see America Overnight, episode 235, agents were dispatched to investigate. 3 local redacted were found dead at the scene. The object attacked Agent Redacted by Redacted. Agents invoked Formula C.5 to redacted the object long enough to redacted. This object gives you the ability to dash short distances. It's very cool. And apparently just a little bit violent. The service weapon. This is the gun you use. Service weapon OOP-1-KE. Containment procedure. No unique procedures required. Description. Para-utility. The object's form is variable. When bound, the object allows para-utilitarians to redacted. Almost said blank. This object must only be bound by individuals seeking the role of redacted. The object will determine whether redacted. If rejected, the applicant is terminated. This process is dictated by the redacted, though their criteria is unknown. Background. The object was discovered inside the oldest house, in the room that is now used as the director's office. The popular hypothesis, redacted. Many forms throughout history, redacted. Mjolnir, Excalibur, Varnastra, all weapons that redacted of their wielders. If objects of power are the convergence of forces based on the collective subconscious, then this may be the original manifestation of that event. If this is the case, redacted. See Dr. Darling presentation 11.1 for more details. So, I can point out a few of the things that have been redacted. Like this process is dictated by the board, though their criteria is unknown. And so what they're getting at in this document is that in order to become the director of the FBC, the Federal Bureau of Control, you have to grab the gun, at which point you are tested. And if you fail, you do die. So there is that, but I hear that the benefits are really, really good, like medical and everything. Slide projector, OOP-15-UE. Oh, this is just one big redacted pie. I'll go right to description, para-utility. The object is a redacted with a vertical tray. The object creates redacted. See Dr. Darling presentation 26.1 for more details. The only redacted to successfully produce this effect resulted in the capture of redacted. See Dr. Darling presentation 26.3 for more details. Object has not been successfully bound. The para-utility of this object does not require binding. Background. Discovered when the Bureau responded to redacted. See AWE-24 case for more file information. AWE stands for Altered World Events, by the way. Many of the accompanying redacted were redacted. See files on P6, P7 for details. The entirety of the redacted was transported to the Bureau for examination to find additional redacted or other altered materials. So again, this is actually like late game spoilers, but I won't go too in depth. But this projector, when used with the appropriate slides, can open a door to a different dimension, or several different dimensions, I guess. But it's only for certain slides. Dr. Darling has reports about testing out slides, like all kinds, things that have strong memories, like birthdays or with family, and they don't work. But this, given the slides, can open up doors to different places, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. There at the bottom, the entirety of the redacted was transported to the Bureau for examination. The entirety of the dump was transported to the Bureau for examination, which is the garbage dump that this was recovered from. So the Bureau just took every bit of trash and transported it to the Bureau through the subway system. By the way, the Bureau is in a building called the Oldest House, and the way the Oldest House works is that it does not like to be seen. So it's a building that you can only find if you are looking for it. So it helps them keep things under wraps. A fun fact, too, is that the building's supernatural powers, because the building is an ongoing AWE or an altered world event, um, it goes beyond the borders of the building. So when the Federal Bureau needs funding, as long as they don't make their budget too crazy, nothing too noticeable, they will be signed off as A-OK, without them even, like the government even realizing they're using the money. So it's technically a government organization, but it's also not known by the government, but it is funded by the government, which I am in support of. If the government is listening to this, which probably, I do have a PayPal, so just, let me know. The X-ray light box, OOP 18-PE. Oh god, AP. Containment procedure. No unique procedures needed. Description, para-utility. The object is a light box used to examine X-ray images. The image cannot be removed from the light box. The information on the image belongs to a patient named redacted. This object allows para-utilitarians to forcefully seize an individual's redacted. The seized individual becomes redacted to the user. The effect lasts redacted. Once released, the seized redacted as a result of the psychic trauma. The object has no current binder. Background. A janitor named Redacted found the object at St. Anne's Hospital in Redacted. Soon, the building's occupants were redacted by him. The Bureau dispatched an emergency response team to Redacted, the perpetrator, and Redacted, the item. Fatalities numbered in the redacted. For operational details, see case 26-HQ-452. So this is the object that gives you the power to, how do I want to say it? It's like mind control for weak enemies. Like once you've lowered their health enough, you can do what's called seize them, which is, I guess, put them in your thrall and like totally make them do your bidding. The only downside is that it only lasts for a short amount of time, and after that time, you do die as a result of psychic trauma. Yeah, so if a janitor bound the object at St. Anne's Hospital, it was probably lots of death. So these are the altered world events. I'm not sure if I want to go into them. I'll go more to altered items. So I just read from the OOP list, which is OOPS, or Objects of Power. The difference between an object of power and an altered item is that an object of power can be used, whereas an altered item is more or less, I mean, I guess it can be a problem, or it can be completely neutral, which we'll see here. But an object of power will give you actual powers that you can use. Like, I can launch things, I can levitate. This maze can be, you can get through the maze, you can keep other people out. This is your shield. This is your way of contacting the board for your orders. This is the dash. This is obviously the most important power of all, which is gun. It's actually interesting to consider this an object of power because it's not, you can't bind it, but it is useful, I guess, with a doorway to other dimensions. And then, of course, this is seize to mind control. So those are like, oh, these are useful. These are just in life, these items here. Like, we just kind of have to live with these. Anchor procedures, which, by the way, this is actually a boss in the game, which I really like. You have to defeat this altered item. Ocelot's Anchor. AI-11-UE. Containment procedure. Black rock paneling successfully prevents manifestation of the sphere. If I had a nickel for every time I heard that, I'd have 1 nickel. Description altered effect. A Trotman-style anchor made of iron with a wooden stock. Surface is rusted in places. Weighs 3,789 pounds. The item generates a persistent blank sphere, the purpose of which is currently unknown. The sphere is always generated at a precise point in relation to the item, specifically redacted horizontal feet and redacted vertical feet from the redacted of the anchor. Appendix 425-1983. Redacted, Ranger First Class, was dropped into the sphere wearing a diving suit with dedicated oxygen line at redacted AMEST. After 10 minutes and 13 seconds inside the sphere, Redacted's oxygen line was cut at the sphere's border by an unseen force. All agents in the room during Redacted's entry into the sphere experienced vomiting, vertigo, and loss of fingernails within an hour of one another. Ranger Redacted has been declared MIA, presumed dead. And this one actually is a supplement, so I'll read that now. Ocelot Anchor, AI-11U-, whatever. The crew of the White Ocelot first encountered a strange spherical phenomenon while fishing in the Redacted. Witnesses described it as a black sphere with faint light behind it. It hovered just off the bow of the ship. The crew redacted by throwing a tin bucket, which disappears into the sphere. Soon after, the vessel lost structural integrity. The ship's metal rusted and fell apart within minutes. As the ship sank, the sphere lowered into the water. A passing fishing vessel called the Redacted rescued the 4 surviving crew. Agents were dispatched to the White Ocelot's last known coordinates, Redacted, and began diving operations. On the ocean floor, the agents found the sphere. The ship was entirely destroyed except for its anchor. As agents lifted the anchor off the ocean floor, they noticed the sphere behaved in conjunction with the anchor, moving and stopping as one. Contact with the sphere was avoided, but handling the anchor proved harmless. The item was transported by the Redacted to the U.S. port of Redacted. Upon arriving in New York, it was brought into the Bureau via the Redacted, which I think is the subway system, because they have train cars. That's another thing. The oldest house is just like a regular office building, but it's bigger on the inside and constantly shifting, and is really endless. But yeah, so the anchor generates a sphere of unknown something, and none of these reports mention it, but the sphere was violent towards me personally, so I don't know if we need to make a little addendum that the anchor is homophobic, but I think we should get on that. Balloon procedures. Get well balloon. AI-58-KE. Containment procedure. Item must be kept away from animals. The cell must be regularly cleaned of the black substance the item produces. All cleaning tools must be redacted, along with the black substance itself. Description altered effect. Item is a novelty balloon made up of silver mylar. On its face is a colorful message to get well, surrounded by cartoon hearts. A ribbon is attached to the balloon. Item has not stopped floating after a considerable amount of time in the Bureau, which suggests it does not hover through the use of helium. The item produces a dark-colored, sticky substance which drips down its ribbon. Also, some of these items can be seen in the Panopticon, which I think is really cool. The fan supplement. Oh, I don't even have the fan. Okay. Some of these, I don't have all of them, but I do have a lot of them. The oscillator, AI-3-KE, supplementary materials, extract from formal interdepartmental complaint. The notion of fan death has now become widely known in the region since foreign investigator Redacted met with a local journalist to explain how electric fans operate at speeds that may suffocate users by overly disturbing the air. As our agency is still young, we must take care to avoid missteps. Any explanation given to the public must provide sufficient yet vague rationale that will reaffirm their certainty that ours is a stable, controlled world. We must tread carefully, especially in this increasingly technological world, with the radio and other innovations allowing information to travel at speeds previously undreamt of. This is precisely why we insist that our department handle all communication with public bodies. With all due respect, William S. Powers, Head of the Department of Public Knowledge and Diversions. Let's see. I do not have the fan, so I don't know, it's hard to say. This might be, they, the board, or the FBC does have several programs, like where they have, like I mentioned it briefly earlier in one of the other readings. It was called America Overnight, and it's owned and created by the Bureau to kind of control public perception. So, for instance, if something bad really does happen, like say the adults of a town disappear one day, you get on your little radio show that is proven to be like, oh, we researched the cryptids and the events and the yada yada, and they form public opinion. Someone will call and be like, hey, I was there, something really terrible happened, and this is what happened. And, obviously the FBC doesn't want information getting out, so they'll be like, oh, yeah, it was an alien abduction. And they'll make it sound as crazy and irrational as possible to make it seem less believable. But they also control public information because the public subconscious controls what items have what powers. So, like, there's a traffic light, for instance, and you can only go on green, and if you move while the traffic light is in red, it will physically teleport you away from it. Because we, as a species, we all unanimously know what a traffic light is and what it does. So with that collective subconscious, it manifested powers in the particular object, which was in the town that got affected by an AWE. Anyway, like I said, I don't know if this will be even relatable to other people or like a good video. I really love this game. Anyway, let's see. Does that say Wolf Globe? AI72-PE? Containment procedure. No unique procedures required. However, contact should be limited as some report feeling disoriented after touching it. Description: altered effect. Item is handmade, set in dark wood. The item itself is lacquered, hand-painted, spins freely on all axes. While the continents and oceans are recognizably those of Earth, careful examination has revealed numerous redacted and other geographic additions that do not exist on our planet. One of these islands has a city marked on it, named Tan Relio. There are no signatures left by its maker. Physical contact renders subjects dizzy and disoriented, with some reporting a feeling of unfamiliarity with their surroundings. This effect seems to grow worse with prolonged contact, culminating in a sense of listlessness and depression. Suicide has been observed in redacted handlers. I think that first redacted part is numerous islands or something. That's a big space for islands, but it says one of these islands has a city marked on it, so probably like items, countries, or islands, countries, etc. Globe supplement. Background. The item was found in the penthouse suite at Redacted Toronto, belonging to David Wolf, who is being investigated for illegally dealing in altered materials. See case 13-HQ-37. I promise I can read. It is just really late. I love how whenever I mess up, I'm like, oh god, the people on the internet are gonna hate me. Bureau agents raided his penthouse and found numerous paranatural belongings, including redacted, and this item, Mr. Wolf, was arrested. Supplementary materials, article from the Toronto Daily. So why would a 36-year-old Bay Street investment trader, filthy rich, married to a model, disappear overnight? That's the question that's kept Toronto high society up at night this past week. Police say it's being looked into. Some nutjob radio show in the States claims he disappeared to join the Illuminati, but it's this reporter's opinion that Mr. Wolf, bored of his job, sick of his family, left it all behind to retire in some remote beach paradise. Now he's sipping Mai Tais while the world thinks he's dead. And that, I think, is a call to America Overnight, which is the radio show that I just told you about. And like that's the thing that I love about this game. If you take the time to learn the world and like read the files, you catch little glimpses of things like that. Like there's a whole enemy organization that is mentioned only briefly and tangentially in these reports. So whenever you see the word blessed in a report, keep an eye out. Game Hammer AI5-BE. Note, per Archival Mandates 8.A, this document has been edited to meet current administrative standards. Certain terminology may be out of date. Containment procedure. No method for suppressing the item's thaumaturgical effect is yet known. To prevent infection, wear proper safety gloves when handling. I'm actually going to look that word up. We're going to learn something new together right now. And if you hear any sort of like, I don't know, not banging, my cat Milky Way is here, and I love her so much, and this really only takes one hand, so I'm playing with her with a wand right now. But we're about to learn something new. You just hold on right there. If you're sleeping, stay sleeping. You don't have to get up for this. This game, as much as I love it, was making me look like an absolute fool. Yep, okay. Okay. Thaumaturgy. Thaumaturgy is the purported capability of a magician to work magic or other paranormal events, or a saint to perform miracles. It is sometimes translated into English as wonderworking. Oh, I see. Thaumaturgical effect is yet unknown. Okay. So that means like that's paranatural effects. So it's basically just like what they used to call having weird powers. Description, altered effect. The item is a wooden mallet from a high striker carnival game. A long wooden handle extends from the head. This item infects any organic material with an unknown disease upon making physical contact. The effects of this disease are similar to leprosy, but develop at a much faster rate. Within a matter of days, tissue loss develops in the limbs closest to the point of infection. While the disease itself has not claimed any lives, secondary infection has resulted in numerous deaths. Well, okay. Oh, the hand chair. AI63-KE. I think this is the one that was in the werewolf thing. It's only active on full moons. Containment procedure. Item must be kept in isolation, removed from other unsecured objects. Under no circumstances is this item to be sat in, which is sad because it looks so inviting. Description, altered effect. A plastic seat shaped like a human hand from the 1960s. The hand's palm forms a seat with the fingers acting as the chair's back. This item affects gravitational forces, attracting and repelling objects near itself with a force of redacted. Its fingers have also been observed to change position, though too quickly to be witnessed or filmed. This item may be changing forms rather than moving. The item only displays these effects during full moons. Okay, yeah. Sample analysis confirms that it contains human genetic material. Background. Found in the warehouse at Redacted, Albany, a team of ranger trainees, accompanied by an experienced field agent, were dispatched to investigate local rumors when they encountered the item. They successfully retrieved the item. See case PAI-6122 for details. Okay, letters, procedures. The moving letters, these are ones that I had to find and contain myself. AI77-KE, containment procedures. Black rock paneling suppresses the item's effect. Description, altered effect. A stack of 4 envelopes, each containing a single page of paper. All 4 letters are illegible due to extreme water damage. The envelopes, curiously, do not show any sign of such damage and are covered in messages of love. The items are able to move short distances at a pace of less than redacted, and always in a redacted direction. This is the first altered item to have multiple separate parts, a fact previously believed to be an impossibility by redacted. A proposal to take the items outside of the oldest house and follow their movement to its final destination is under consideration with the Budget Committee. See file RTO 7158 for details. Background: Items was found in the Dead Letter Archives, where the I think that's head archivist, found it attempting to escape a filing cabinet. She reports having no records of the items in the archive of her letters. Um, so the Dead Letters Department is a department of the Bureau that takes in submissions of people claiming to know of supernatural things. Uh, and they're like, yeah, even if half of it is just like paranoid dribble, it's good to know how the public sees supernatural stuff so we can get like a hold on it. Because again, it's the public's perception that can influence power and what power certain objects have. The reason they say this is an item consisting of multiple parts is because there are several letters that I had to catch and contain. I guess it's also, the envelope itself with the letter inside. And they just zip around a room like crazy, and it's very hard to catch. Thank you so much for asking. And yes, I did. Yes, I did catch it. Maneki Neko procedures. This is actually in the Foundation DLC, and it's a collectible. Maneki Neko statues. AI 48-PE. Containment procedure? None known. Description altered effect. A ceramic beckoning cat figurine, common luck object found in Japanese storefronts. The following is a list of the items observed altered effects: non-corporeality, affinity for specific human behavior, and minor physical movement, waving its arm. Multiple simultaneous incarnations of this items have been observed. Whether these are independent altered items acting uniformly or replicated instances of AI-48 is unknown. And this is another one where, like I said, it's collectible. So you find several of these objects, but they're hidden really well. I mean, like really well. One of them, you have to find all the hidden blocks in a room, but then you have to take it to a corner of the room where there's like a little dig site, and you see little cat paw prints in certain squares because it's all, lined off because it's a dig site. And you have to drop the secret blocks on all of the parts of the dig site that have little paw prints. And when you do, one of them will show up. And they all have different paintings, and if you collect them all, you can have cat ears, which obviously I did. I was like, I've got to have cat ears. Anyway, background. How the items originally arrived in the oldest house is unknown. It was first discovered sitting in the director's chair and was immediately contained in a panopticon cell. The next day, an agent noticed 2 additional figurines had appeared. Hours later, all 3 vanished. The items have been sighted throughout the Bureau, appearing while agents perform redacted tasks. It is theorized that fulfilling certain unknown criteria will encourage the items to appear. Present location is unknown. Also, a lot of these items are considered to like have a will of their own, and almost like a consciousness. The reason they have a panopticon, which is, if you don't know, is like it's a giant open room. It's like a cylinder, and the jail cells line the walls, and you observe them from the middle of the room. So you've probably seen an illustration of it once or twice. But the theory by the current head of containment is that you don't want to trap them. You don't want to make them feel like they're being kept here, because if they feel trapped, they'll try to escape. But if they feel like they're being worshipped, like by being seen and looked at and revered, they might stay. And so it's about finding the rituals that these objects like and are, how do I want to put it, almost sedated by. It's like, as long as you keep an eye on them, they won't get too crazy. There is one altered item here that will kill if you don't look directly at it at all times, and there was a casualty, but That was also because of an alien creature in the astral plane who is a former member of the board, and it's kind of hinted at that, like, although he's a de facto member, and he did try to kill you twice in the fucking base game, and then in the DLC he's on your side for some reason. It makes me mad. It doesn't actually make me mad, but it's hinted at that the board may not be quite so on the up and up, and yeah. Anyway, the item that kills you when you look at it, you cleanse it and you fix it. It's whatever. The mannequin supplement. Mannequin. AI7-KE. Background. The item was last owned by Madame Redacted, an operatic performer from Berlin. After her career ended in a public scandal, she relocated to Redacted, Maine for reasons unknown. With her came the trappings of her old life, including this item. Locals report that she rarely left her home in the short years she spent in Redacted. After her death, caused by Redacted, the state held a public auction of her belongings, seeing as she had no known relatives. Various conflicting first-hand reports exist, but testimonies provided by witnesses of the event do contain some common elements. Most every witness saw numerous mannequins break through the house's windows, tumbling outside. Some witnesses report bright lights. Some report high-pitched singing. These are unverified. Numerous civilians inside the house at the time of the incident were hospitalized for various injuries. 2 were crushed to death. Agents were dispatched upon seeing the article regarding these events during the Bureau's daily scans of national periodicals. The item was quickly identified and brought to the Bureau. Yeah. This is the mannequins, which we seem to have a lot of when you see them in the Bureau, so apparently there's just a lot of them. Oh, the mirror. Victorian mirror, AI60-UE, containment procedure. The item should be kept in a sealed chamber with minimal external visibility. Description, altered effect. A hanging mirror, oval in shape. The frame is made out of ornately wrought brass. The item does not reflect its surroundings accurately. The item's effect is complex. Most notable is the fact that the glass transports individuals to a paranatural space when touched, and this space is an imperfect reflection of our reality. Some objects inside the reflection are simple mirror images. Some are redacted, while some do not appear at all. The reflection only contains area within a redacted distance from the item itself. Relocating the item has proven that the reflection changes to depending on its surroundings. That should not have been in there. Got 2. Agents have been sent in to explore the reflection. Redacted has been observed in the last test subject sent inside, believed to be psychosomatic. Prolonged exposure to the reflection is not advisable. Yeah, so there's interviews of certain agents who have gone into the mirror and come back, and they speak in reverse. But also, I had to go into the mirror and fix some of its issues. And on the flip side, where the recording was played in reverse, everyone sounded in reverse to the agents that came back, but they sounded normal. So it's very interesting. Mirror supplement. Background. Redacted. Lots of redacted. She was admitted to a mental ward for emotional instability soon after relocating to Illinois with her family in 1914. The item only appears on record again in 2006 when the Bureau investigated a sudden rise in disappearances in Redacted, Illinois. Agents found the item hanging in the local library. They contained it quickly that the missing people of the town were never recovered. Supplementary materials. Date, August 18th, 1915. We certify that the case of Mrs. Redacted has shown her to be a lunatic under the reasons of hysteria, bad company, and imaginary female trouble. Wow, call me by my name. Her fixation with the family-looking glass is noteworthy, though not an uncommon matter when considering the female disposition. Oh yeah, tell me about it. Mrs. Carver is a fit subject for the lunatic asylum and will remain in its confines until her affliction has passed. Signed, Dr. Redacted, although I'm pretty sure we can say that's Dr. Asshole. Um, yeah, it's really sad to think about an old woman being considered crazy because she's like, yeah, the mirror took the fucking kids, and they're like, oh god, a woman. What are we gonna do about that? Anyway, the pink flamingo supplement. I need to catch the pink flamingo. I'm pretty sure I know where the pink flamingo is. It's the prime candidate program. The walls are kind of warped down there. I think it's down there. I'm pretty sure. But that might also be the Chinese lantern. But I went to the spot where it's supposed to be and it's not there. So anyway, the pink flamingo, AI 46-KE. Background. Agents noted a transient commonly found outside the entrance of the Bureau headquarters would carry the item and loudly claim to be responsible for the lack of inclement weather. The frequency of these claims attracted the personal interest of Dr. Darling. In interviews disguised as casual conversations, the transient reported that the item gives me clouds when it's hot and sun when it's not. An event of note occurred during a heavy downpour when the vagrant was witnessed performing a possible ritual with the item. See file PAI-1372 for a detailed observation. Dr. Darling reported a wait of redacted seconds before the rain stopped. The vagrant was seized the next day. After redacted, he was found to possess no redacted and was released. The item remains in Bureau custody under suspicion of altered status, though this has not been proven. All known variations of identification formulas have failed to elicit response from the item. So I think they have certain, like what this is alluding to, is that the Bureau has little methods to draw out supernatural ability in items, and it did not have one. But this is another item. This is my second playthrough of the game. I don't think. Oh wait, no, I did keep all my stuff from the first one, but I still have to go through and beat some of the DLCs and all that. But I believe the pink flamingo is one of the items that has also been corrupted by the former. So now it's just a little bit different. It warps things. But that's a whole thing. Post box supplement. Jasper post box AI 31-PE. Background. Agents arrived in the town of Jasper Crossing, Arizona, after the communications department intercepted multiple phone calls to local authorities regarding frozen people in the streets. 4 of the 5 dispatched agents became paralyzed upon arriving at the scene. Additional assessment teams were dispatched. Variations of identification formulas were tried with ineffectual results. Agents resorted to using aerial photography to study the positioning of the paralyzed individuals. Soon after, agents discovered the event's epicenter to be the local post office. Unaffected agents cleared the area of all paralyzed civilians, animals, and Bureau personnel before beginning to study the item. Agents deemed susceptible to the item were tasked with interviewing and re-informing the public away from the site. The item was soon placed on a transport vehicle manned by unaffected agents. Air travel had been deemed too dangerous given the item's effect. Numerous reports of temporary paralysis were reported by civilians along the truck's route from Arizona to New York City. Yeah. Pram procedures. Oh yeah, you can go see this one. Like, I love that you can find these files in random spots along the Bureau, and then you can actually go see them, like in the Panopticon. Smoking Pram, AI 13-KE. Containment procedure. Containment cell must be properly ventilated. Inhalation of the item's smoke causes redacted. So I'm sure that's good. Description, altered effect. Item is a baby carriage with a black shade and steel wire heels. And by heels I do mean wheels. Left front wheel is slightly bent, causing a distinct wobble when pushed. Item produces smoke incessantly. Smoke density varies. Smoke is generated without apparent fire or ignition source. Background. An incident in Paris in 1979 brought the pram to the attention of the Bureau. Smoke filled an antique store where the pram was being sold, killing the shop's owner. Update. Detailed records of the events leading to the item's discovery were destroyed in an incident in the Panopticon. Interviews with living witnesses were reperformed at the order of the archives and the records chief. Refrigerator procedures. Oh yeah, this is the Arctic Queen, AI 10-KE. This is the item that was normal but then was corrupted by the altar to be violent. Containment procedure. No unique procedures required. Whereas when the altered had perfected it, or perverted it, I guess, um, you had to make constant eye contact. If you look away, it would get you. How it does it is unknown. But um, let's see here. An Arctic Queen brand electric refrigerator model from the 1960s. No cooling functionality. The door is decorated with crayon illustrations by blank. The illustrations cannot be removed from the item. All attempts have failed. The paper cannot be burned or torn. Background. The item first came to the Bureau's attention after it survived the collapse of New York City's Grand Central Hotel, where it served as an appliance in an apartment redacted, rented by a man named Redacted. It became the subject of local infamy after surviving the building's collapse undamaged. Mr. Redacted, who was out of the building at the time of the collapse, Redacted PM, retained ownership of the item until 1974, when the Bureau purchased the item through a false identity. Appendix. New altered effect has been observed. See file AI10F for details. See file AI10-.k for new containment procedures. Let's see the supplement here. Supplementary materials. Interview 11-20-1974. A. Can you tell us why you left your building that day? LM. I was running out to get eggs. There was that corner store on the 30th. That's why I left Michael there on his own. Knew I wouldn't be gone long. He was drawing at the table when I left. Had his crayons out. Happy. The building came down when I was a block away. I ran back, started digging. City workers found Mikey later besides the fridge. The drawings hadn't come off. Tons of brick fall, and those drawings are still there. How does that happen? A. You kept the refrigerator after that accident. Why? It still had his drawings. God must have kept them safe for a reason, right? I'd get home from work and stare at them all night. I was in a bad way back then. A. Why did you sell the fridge with your son's drawings still on it? WM. They'd gotten stuck to it or something. I thought about cutting them off, those magnets, but maybe it was better I didn't hold on to them, you know? Gotta move on, everyone says. What's my fridge gotta do with the building collapse anyhow? End of relevant portion. So I think, yeah, so the anomalous effect before was just that the fridge had crayon drawings on it that could not be removed because they were the crayon drawings of a young boy who died. And I don't know if I don't know if the building collapse is related to an AWE or what, but it's very, very interesting stuff.